Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Scales 13. I hope you guys really like the intro. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments section. Today we're actually going to be redoing an older video that I did, and that video is going to be basically how to gut load your feeder insects to make them healthy and nutritional for your reptile, and also how to breed them so that way you can keep a stock for yourself. I think this is a really important subject to talk about because if a pet store closes down and you can't get live feeder insects for your insectivore animals, that can really be a pain in the behind. You know, especially with snowstorms or even currently with this whole coronavirus thing going around, you want to make sure you can feed your animals properly. So today I'm going to go over it a little bit more in depth than I did last time, and I'm going to show you guys some improvements I made to my system so that way I can breed more insects and I can get more food for my animals so that way they can have a good nutritious meal. So gut loading feeder insects is actually really important. The thing is, you want to make sure that your insects that you're feeding to your animal are as healthy as possible and that they're packed with nutrients. That way your animal's getting the nutrition that it needs in every single bite that it's eating, instead of eating insects that are sick or malnutrition, because then your reptile is going to wind up the same way. Okay, so first I'm going to start with what I feed my feeder insects. So the first thing I think you guys should invest in is a nice commercially made gut load for your insects. It usually comes in a powdered form, and the reason I'm suggesting this is because these insect foods usually come with all the nutritional value that your insect needs, and more of the ones made nowadays are actually packed with calcium. So that actually helps your reptile, because if your insects are already eating a calcium rich diet, then they're getting a lot of the calcium that they need already from the insects before you even dust them. So if you get to dust your insects here and there, they're still getting a sufficient amount of calcium. And as long as they have good UVB, your animal's still going to have a nice strong bone structure and they won't get MBD. Another thing you want to make sure your feeder insects have is moisture. So right now I keep some of these in stock. Let's see, Flukers makes this. Flukers also makes the powdered gut load I showed you guys earlier. This is an organic brand called Castaway Organics. I don't really have a strong opinion about this product yet. I just started using it, but it looks pretty cool, and they have some cool fun facts on the back, basically talking about like how you shouldn't actually feed too much protein prior to feeding your feeder insects to your pet. So that makes me think about protein ratios, because a lot of guys who keep dubia roaches will feed them ground up dog food, and of course, you know, dog food has meat in it, of course. So that makes me wonder. I'm going to do a little bit more research about that. I'm sure it's perfectly fine because people have been doing it for a long time. And of course, dog food's going to have a lot less protein than, let's say, like a cat food. But at the same time, it's something to think about. So I keep my mealworms in this little Tupperware container. You can get these whenever you order Chinese food or something. And I just popped a couple holes in the top, so that way they can get some air. And I got a bunch of mealworms in here that went through their life cycle and became adults, and they have tiny little babies, very, very small babies inside this this substrate right here. You can use oatmeal or basically like any one of those starchy hot cereals. I didn't have any oatmeal, so this time I used like a cream of wheat. Works just fine. And what I do is I just take the little mealworms that come from these beetles, and once they're a good enough size, I just put them in this container that's already gut loaded with my commercially bought gut load and some fruit and veggies, and just let them get gut loaded and they'll be ready to feed off. Okay, so we covered what your feeder insects are going to be eating. Now we got to think about how we're going to keep them hydrated. So these creatures can, of course, just like any creature, can still die of hydration. So one thing that's cool to keep around is like some little orange cubes and stuff like that. I noticed that the insects that I breed and keep in colonies, these right here are mealworm darkling beetles. So these little guys, let me help this guy out right here. He's kind of flipped over. Sorry, bud. Come here. There you go. Yeah, so These guys don't really eat on these as much as I would like them to, but it's still good to keep around. They don't go as bad as produce and different things like that. So this is just something good to keep around in case you need it. Another thing that I would actually suggest higher than that is to make sure that they get some nice fruits and veggies in there, something fresh. So you can feed them like spring mix. I would actually take this and kind of rip it up and sprinkle it around. That way all of them can get to it easier, because sometimes if you put all of your vegetation for moisture content on one end of the container, then some of the guys at the far end will have a hard time getting to it if they're just too small, or maybe a brand new baby mealworm can't crawl this whole length to get food. Another thing I like to use is any fruit that I have, if it's starting to get a little bit old, like these blueberries in here are starting to get a little bit shriveled up and stuff. If I'm not going to eat them anymore, I just feed them along to the feeder insects, and that'll be another source of moisture for them, and that'll also give them some good vitamin content as well. I wouldn't feed them too much fruit just because you don't want to put too much sugar into your reptiles, but here and there, it's not bad for them. So as you guys can see right here, I removed most of the old vegetation that these guys were eating on before, and I just gave them some, wow, you too. I just gave them some nice veggies, and as you can see, my darkling beetles are already going right to the veggies. And wow, this one's actually making a liar out of me. He went straight to the orange cube. Cool. At least I know it's useful for something. And yeah, guys, this is just something that you definitely want to keep up with. Now, some people always also use carrots and potatoes for their mealworm beetles, and also for their for the larvae, the actual mealworms, and superworms as well. Potatoes are actually good as far as giving the insects all the moisture they need. But the thing is, you want to mix it up. You don't want to feed them just potatoes. Potatoes are mostly starch. You want to add maybe like some spring mixes in there, some carrots, some fruit here and there, just so that way they're getting a good variety of different fruits and veggies for variety content and for added vitamins, just so that way they'll be more nutritional for your reptile. And then after that, once these guys start having babies, I just pick them out of here as I see the little mealworms crawling along, and I just transferred some into a smaller container in here that I'm going to feed from. And I fill this up with the same gut loads I use here, and so that way these guys can continue to eat until I feed them off. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, I just added some stuff to my superworms too. I added the orange cubes. They got some of the powdered insect food in there, and I have some spring mix broken up and scattered in here as well. Now, one thing you might notice about my little tub here, mind you, you can get these tubs from a supermarket. They're super cheap. If you guys ever go to get like a salad platter, or like some ribs or something like that, when you're done, just wash them out in the sink and then reuse these things. The awesome thing is too, I guess just for the food's sake, there's like these little vents at the top. I guess that's to keep the inside from getting too much moisture content. So I guess your food doesn't get soggy. But it helps out here because since it has nice high open holes on it, it gives plenty of air exchange for my insects. Now you might notice there's no darkling beetles in here. So you're probably wondering, well, come on, man, like how are you breeding superworms if there's no adults in here? Well, this is where I get them from. The thing is, sometimes when you have an ocumonitor, you're feeding them food, they have this nice deep substrate. And sometimes they'll drop an insect or two and they'll burrow into the substrate. Then they start living in your substrate, and you wind up seeing a darkling beetle walk around. And then next thing you know, boom, you got superworms. Well, it does get kind of annoying because sometimes the superworms will overpopulate. But it's kind of cool for me for two reasons. One, if I go away for a little while, I've even seen Thunder dig sometimes in this enclosure and find superworms himself for him to eat. So it's cool. He can do kind of that natural foraging behavior and feed himself when I'm not around. But it's also cool for me because if I dig around, now I don't know if I'm going to find any here. It's kind of dry in this spot. Usually they're in more of a moist area. We're going to go to the other side of the enclosure real quick, guys. We're going to go to the cool side where there's more moisture. And we're going to see if we can find ourselves some superworms. Oh man, it smells like superworms over here. It smells like the beetles anyway. You know, those darkling beetles get that musk. All right, so let's see if we can find some of these bad boys. Just dig through the soil. Ah, there we go, right there. Look, see? Oh man, jeez. I just buried them. Stupid things. Come on, where'd they go? Whoa, whoa, oh, that's great. Ah, thing jumped at me. Anyway, got punked by a cricket. All right, let's see. Come on, I know there's superworms in here. I just saw them. That's a funny thing. See, I got this darn. I'm sure all this rustling's gonna bring Thunder out, then he's gonna want something to eat. Sometimes when I'm digging out here to pick out superworms for my colony, he'll come over, and if I find one big enough, I just throw it to him, and he just knocks it down. Let's see, now where are these superworms? Man, guys, I'm so sorry. This is really annoying. I was hoping to just move the soil and bam, here they are, but looks like they're not really around as much today, are they? Maybe if I move this piece of wood. Bam, there we go. Ah, come on, man. Jeez. Let me see. Darn it. Well, see plenty of springtails, so it's good for their population, but where the heck are these superworms? Maybe it's because I haven't been feeding the soil as much. I know where they might be. I'm not putting the phone down this time. This time it's going on this perch. I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's where it's going for now, guys. Just give me a few seconds to find some superworms. Man, oh man. This part is annoying. This is very annoying. How did I not find superworms? Ah, here we go. Bam. Little baby one. All right, cool. Well, there's not many around right now. But if you guys look right here, see? There's a little baby superworm I just pulled out of the substrate. So I just take the little babies that I find. I just let them go in here. They get nice and big, and then I can feed them off. And that's the thing. They do tend to grow pretty big inside Thunder's enclosure. But the thing is, when they're living in this enclosure, all they're feeding on is probably just decaying leaves and my monitor lizard's excrement and things that probably aren't too nutritional for them, which means they're not going to be too nutritional to my reptiles. So I always want to take them out and gut load them. Ah, boom, there goes one right there. See one digging below the surface. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can't hide from me. Oh, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna find this sucker. Let's see. Did he come out? There he is. Yep. Matter of fact, I need to get that one. That's a good size. Come here. Come here, you little thing. Come here, you little shit. Come here. Ah, come on. There we go. There we got it. Cool. Now, if he was out right now and he saw one this big, whoo, let me zoom out. Yeah, if he saw one this big, he would definitely go for it. But he's sleeping, so it kind of makes it a little better for me so I can pull these out. So yeah, guys. That's pretty much the main thing about how I gut load. I just put them in these nice big tubs now. The superworms breed inside of the Aki monitor's enclosure. I pull those out, gut load them here, and they get to go to the geckos. They get to be fed back to the monitor lizard. And my mealworms breed in that little container I showed you earlier, and they live out their whole life cycle in there. And as soon as I see their babies get big enough, I transfer them over, keep them gut loaded, and feed them right off to all my insect-eating animals, all my leopard geckos, my Aki monitor. Sometimes I'll give a few to the to the blue tongue if he's up for a run around. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, and guys, please tell me what you think about the new intro. You know, like I waited quite a while for that, and I think it came out pretty good, but I want to know your guys' opinions. Everybody have a great day. Peace.